What's going on, guys? It's me, Dreamliner Fan HC here, and today we have another model plane unboxing video for you guys. I hope you guys are excited for today's video. Today we got another box right here from Jet Collector, and I think just been recently I've been purchasing some more models on Jet Collector than any other retailer. I mean, of course, I still like to purchase from DG Pilot Panda models, but I think it's been a while since I last done that, since I'm kind of saving up on things, of course, with extra stuff outside of making videos. But we got another model right here, and I'm just super excited about this particular model. This is an NG recent release, and I think it I think it's in the April 2025 releases. I'm not really quite sure. I will have to look at the model aircraft database after I film this part of the video, but I do want to get this particular model because I have an airline like this before. I have an airline I have this particular airline in my collection already, but that one is a fantasy livery, so I do want to get an airline out of a certain model that's up to date. But NG models, they released this, and I decided to go for this particular aircraft. So as you can see, yeah, I'm just as per usual, just opening the box with every single unboxing that I do. And I do see my receipt, so I want to try to make sure that my information, my full information is not displayed on this video, of course. So just to make sure everything's all clear, and we should be good. So let's get into the model itself. As you can see, a lot of packing peanuts that I need to dig in, so it may spill on my board, but hey, it's what it is. And as I take her out, I see part of the box right there, and oh my gosh, there she wow, always been thinking about having this airline back. Well, not really particular, I always wanted to have an up-to-date aircraft for this particular airline, but we have the NG models 1/400 scale Cathay Pacific Boeing 777-300ER. Really excited to get into this model. I'm gonna go into further details on why I want to get this model, and overall, first Cathay Pacific model in years. It's been years since I last had a Cathay model in my collection, and yeah, it's nice to bring it back for the Boeing 777 for this particular airline. So really glad to have this in my collection. So with that being said, let's get into the box review. Alright, and let's get started with a review of the NG models 1/400 scale Cathay Pacific Boeing 777-300ER. Super excited to add another Cathay Pacific in my collection. It's been I would say 3 years since I last had a Cathay Pacific model, because the last Cathay model I have or purchased was the Cathay Pacific Boeing 777-300ER in the Retro Fantasy livery from NG Models, which is their first 777-300ER they ever did. So that's in my collection. I do want to keep that, but I do want to get an up-to-date 777 from Cathay, so I decided to offer this one, and this model came out on the April 2025 releases. Also, I do want to mention the Retro Fantasy Cathay WW came out in March 2022. So that's basically 3 years. But I'm just super excited to add this. I always been thinking of having this in my collection, and I always wanted NG to make this one, and here it is, the Cathay 333 from NG Models. So let's get started with the box. You got the Cathay Pacific logo right there. You got the Boeing 777-300ER tiles right there. You got the CGI image of the plane. You got the front area of the aircraft, and I do like the fact that it shows the outline of the 777's forward area, and then you can see the Cathay Pacific logo as well. 1/400 scale collectible model diecast metal, and then you got the aircraft registration Bravo Kilo Quebec Whiskey, and you don't see the NG Models logo anywhere. Now I think that's reasonable, because as of late, I think NG Models has been not including the NG logo on their recent releases. Now I think this has to do with copyright reasons, because of course NG Models, they don't have any licensing with airlines. They just only have license with Boeing, and I think Airbus too, but not with any other airlines. Not sure if they still have a license with TAP Air Portugal at some point, but who knows. But yeah, that's the reason why they have not been featuring the NG logo on their recent, the NG Models logo on the recent boxes, because of that. So yeah, I think it makes sense overall. And I do like the fact that the background is exactly like the color of the Cathay Pacific color on their tails. So that's really cool. Here is the bottom of the box, right side of the box, top of the box, and the left side of the box, and here is the back side. There's nothing really too special about the back since it's the same, although I do wish they add like the tail section of like the Cathay Pacific plane, the 777. So that would have been a nice addition if they would have featured the tail. That way the front would feature the front area, which is the cockpit area, and then on the back you can see like the tail itself. Anyways, you got your warning hazards right there, age 14 plus, made in China, and the item number of this model. I'm not sure what's the reason behind this, but I think there's some I guess that's a barcode number, but the item number of this model is 73069er. Anyway, so let's get into the unboxing, shall we? So, super excited to once again have another Cathay model in my collection, and this should be a really nice model from NG Models right here. So, not sure why okay, I think this is how far I can zoom. But as she comes out of the box, there she is right there, and honestly, that looks really nice. And they also did one. Oh, what's this? Okay, this is I guess this is like a different. Okay, so I guess this is different compared to the CRP, but I think it functions similarly to the CRP. So you can see a warning hazard right there. So warning hazard, small parts, and then you can see a collecting guidance, yeah. Static display only, keep the model away from hot and humidity environments. Place it horizontally to avoid damages caused by slipping. Use dry and clean hands to take the model. Do not press hard on the engines or landing gear. Some of the engines are hollow design but unspinnable. And then all your various like other things. Do not use sharp or hard objects to wipe the model. Handmade assembly products is the normal that parts fall off or a slight tilt or wheel stuck and rolling, etc., and all that stuff. So yeah, really interesting right there, and I think this is where you would scratch it out to reveal the pin. But from what I'm seeing, I don't see any other like CRP, like just the usual CRP I would see, but so I'm guessing this could be the new CRP card from NG. Anyways, we got the model right here, looking very nice. Let's take out the cradle, take the model out of the cradle, and as I do that, I do want to check for no broken parts. Are there like other plastic stuff that's I'm seeing right there? But as I take her out, and wow, oh, ooh, this is actually really cool. Man, that actually looks really good. Let me see if it's broken. Okay, the wings are good, horizontal stabilizers. And what about the tail? Are we seeing any all antennas attached? And the antennas are all attached. And look at this. Wow, this really exceeded my expectations, because I seen the model like production images online on the internet, and I think it looks good. But when I'm seeing this in person, it actually looks really much more better. So overall, this looks really fantastic, and I'm really glad to have this one in my collection. An up-to-date Cathay Pacific model in my collection. They also made one with the big titles, but I decided to go for the one like this one with the small titles, since they are really common throughout the 777 fleet. There's only one Cathay aircraft that has the big titles, and that's it. But overall, I'm really glad to have it. I may consider trying to get the A350 soon, but time will tell. But for now, this Cathay 333 will do. And there she is, the engine model's 1/400 scale Cathay Pacific Boeing 777-300ER. This is a job well done from Engine Models, and honestly, it does look very nice, and I think the coloring, like the color of the livery itself, looks very vibrant on this model right here. So we're glad to have this in my collection, and once again, I finally now have an up-to-date Cathay model in my collection. So you got your cockpit windows right there, and then you got the nose shape of the plane. As you can see, the nose shape details on NG's 777 mode looks nice. I mean, it looks good in a way, but I believe Aviation 400 has a better representation of a 777's nose. This one from NG, this take, I think it's about okay. You also got the Cathay Pacific logo right there. You got your hero tube details and stack port details on this side. You got your nose landing gear and nose landing gear door right there, containing the Quebec Whiskey registration prefix. You got your L1 boarding door right there, and your One World logo alongside the L2 boarding door and also the One World logo. And I think this is where first class is. So kind of runs from here all the way to like here, and then somewhere over here on this side, you have like business class products, and then premium economy, and then the back has like all economy. Anyways, you got the Cathay Pacific logo right there. Now, as mentioned before, Cathay Pacific has like different variations on the logos. The recent one has the I think one of them has the larger titles. This one has the small titles, which is pretty much common throughout the Cathay Pacific fleet on their 777s. And here's your top antenna right there. And with this livery, it has some kind of like, it's kind of like a light bluish line, but what I'm seeing here, I think it looks more like a gray. But as you can see on the engines, it has like a more of a bluish texture to it. Like the shade is like this one on the engines, that's a bit more bluer than this. Now I'm not sure if this is present on the livery, but from whatever I'm thinking, I think this should have been a little bit more bluer. But I think it kinda, because like looking at the box, it has like the blue stripe, like the blue solid line that runs from the forward area to the empennage area. This has like a more grayish detail, like grayish color on this side. So I'm not sure what's going on with over there. I'm not sure if this is accurate to the actual livery itself, but yeah, that's there. But yeah, anywho, moving on to the middle section of the plane, you got your GE90 engine right there, which I think Engine Models did a good job on the representation of the GE90 right there. As you can see, it has enough ground clearance, and then you can see the main landing gear right there. There's your L3 door right there, also known as the emergency exit door. And then you can see some slat details right there. And then you can see a landing leg, which is another great attention to detail from NG. And here is the outline of the belly of the plane as well, which I do like the fact that there's also like the edges, like the edges line, like the edge lines to show that this is the actual belly of the plane. So I like that attention to detail from NG. And as I flip over to the top areas, you can see some of the wing details, you can see some spoiler details, you got some aileron details and your flat track canoes. You can also see the emergency exits slide indicators right there, so like the emergency exit markings, and then you can see some additional details right there from all the various like components of the wing. Anyway, so let me just set them all down, and as we move on to the back, you got some extra panels right there, so like panels at the back, I'm guessing there could be like air intakes. You also got your two Wi-Fi domes right there, you also got your back antennas right there, and then you also got your bottom antenna. There's your L4 door, and then you can see all the economy class rows right there. You got the L5 door, and then you got the Swire logo, which that is the shareholder of the airline. So quite interesting on how they don't feature like the Hong Kong flag, rather than just like the Swire logo itself. And then you got the aircraft registration, Bravo Kilo Quebec Whiskey. I actually did see the sister ship on my recent LAX trip, or LAX day trip. I saw Kilo Quebec Yankee. But it'll be interesting if Kilo Quebec Whiskey came to LAX, but hey, at least I saw the sister ship. So once again, I saw the aircraft sister ship, Bravo Kilo Quebec Yankee. And yeah, like the registration, because like this airline is based out of Hong Kong. I think Chinese airlines have like a 6-digit, like for mainland China, they have like 4, I'm guessing like 4 letters after the Bravo Dash registration starter, but for airlines that are based out of Hong Kong, they just have letters, and they're just like 3 digits after the Bravo Dash registration. So it's quite interesting on how Hong Kong has this. That same goes for Taipei, because I think Taipei's like numberings on their registrations are a bit longer than just in mainland China. So yeah, that's kind of like some details that you could see in like various like, what is that? Various like details on like Chinese airlines. But this is more of a Hong Kong airline, not like mainland China or anything. Anyways, moving on to the empennage of the plane. Now, from what I'm seeing, I think NG just changed the APU, which I think this one, it's almost like the Aviation 400. So, big improvement on their Boeing 777 mold right there. So, great work NG on this. I love the attention to detail on what I'm seeing on the 777. So, this is the APU. It almost looks as realistic as what it is on their 777s. So that's very nice attention to detail right there. You also got your horizontal stabilizers right there, and then some extra detail like top details right there. And the Cathay Pacific tail, which this actually is a nice representation of the tail itself. So I think this is some kind of like bird from what I know. And then it's surrounded like a sea green background. So I really do like this Cathay livery. The old one also looks very nice too, but I do like this one since I've been seeing these more often. Not sure on how many more old livery Cathay 333s are there, but I believe they're about like none of them. But I'm assuming there's a little bit more Cathay old liveries that still exist. Anyway, so here's the front profile view of the plane. Let me just adjust my tripod. Alright, so let me just like fix this for you guys. Anyways, here is the front view of the plane, looking very nice. I do like the various like details of the cockpit windows right there. You got some windshield wipers, you also got some fan blade details on the GE90 engine, and then you got your ground flex on the wings, which I think that looks very nice right there for NG standards. Moving on to the starboard section of the plane, let me just like try to focus it again. Let me adjust my tripod once again. And then here is the starboard section. You got your R1, R2, R3, R4, and R5 doors. You got your forward cargo bin and your aft cargo bin right there. And also, I forgot to mention, there is the bulk compartment. Now as I give you guys a top profile view of the plane, here's the top profile view. So not much on details, but you can see all the various like 3D aerials right there, which I think that absolutely looks very nice. But there is some printed details, like you can see the red beacon light right there. Moving on to the bottom section. Now, from what I'm seeing, NG has recently updated their molds to not feature a stand hole. Now, this is what I'm seeing on their 333s right there, but I will say there's some really great details on the bottom. You got some details on the engines, you got the Bravo Kilo Quebec Whiskey registration prefix on the port side of the wing at the bottom, and then you can see all the various like other details like the landing gear door, main landing gears, and the air intakes, which are molded in, which looks very nice, to be honest. And yeah, a lot of detail at the bottom from what I'm seeing right there. As mentioned, I already showed you guys the profile view. So here is the profile view of the plane. Oh, before I get into the back, I think I was mentioning about the stand hole. So I think with recent NG molds, they're not including the stand hole anymore, because I think they have another stand that it can be more, like, I think the stand they just revealed, I think that's a more, like, I think the stand just holds the wings. So I think with these recent molds, they're kind of like transferring from the stand hole to like no stand hole, so that way the aircraft can rest on like a flat surface on their newer stands. So quite interesting on how NG went for this direction, but hey, it's still cool to have this model regardless. And here is the backside of the model right there. So overall, a nice model from NG Models, and I'm really glad to have this Cathay 333. And honestly, it's a really nice model. I might see if I can try to get the A350-900 at some point, but they also did a great job on their on the A350-900 too. But since I just recently saw one in LAX, I thought, why not get one? So yeah, there she is. She had just landed in my collection, and once again, this is my first Cathay model in 3 years, so it's really nice to have an up-to-date one. But that's gonna do it for today's video, so not gonna waste further time as we're gonna jump into the outro portion of this video. So let's get into that. And that's gonna do it for today's unboxing. So once again, this is a very nice model from NG Models, and if you like collecting Cathay Pacific models, then I would highly recommend getting this model. But if this model is sold out everywhere, then hopefully you can still get the Cathay larger titles on the 333. I think that one in particular, I don't think that has been selling that as much as this one, but I do need to double check on those retailers to make sure that that model in particular is still available. But they also have been releasing some A350-900s and 1000s as well, so might try to get an A350-900 or 1000 from them, but I think I want to stick more on the A350-900 since they've been sending those to SFO during the afternoons. They do send these planes to San Francisco, but only in the late evening. And yeah, that's like the third daily arrival from Hong Kong, so yeah. But overall, still a nice model, and I'm really glad to have this for my collection and my international collection as well. So, hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel, and turn on the bell icon so you won't miss a new upload from me anytime soon. And if you want to see more of my model plane content, then you can click on that playlist and you can see all my model planes I did on my channel, as well as my model unboxings too. So, that's it for today's video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Good night.